Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A very warm greetings to each and everyone present here. Welcome to Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology, hosting a talk show, Peace at a Premiere, collaborating with Indian Leather Technologists Association. I am Shahira Irfan, the MC of the event. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to extend our appreciation for your presence today. Today we have an eminent guest among us, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, a global peace icon as a speaker. And now we would like Mr. Shushantu Malik, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, Arnab Jha, and our principal sir, Sanjay Chakraborty, and Ratan Chaudhary to come on dais with a round of applause, please. By welcoming Mr. Ratan Chaudhary, HRD Committee Coordinator of ILTA, to deliver his opening remarks.
First of all, I'd like to let me allow to say my word by sitting this position because I have some problem with the back, for which I request your permission. Can I say that talk like this position? Go ahead. Respected President, General Secretary of ILTA, Principal of the Society, Professors, esteemed Speaker, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, members, alumni, students, and distinguished guests. It is my immense pleasure to announce as the coordinator HRD of ILTA that we have initiated one of our multi-dimensional activities to grow our young generation to achieve higher goals in their future life. Different programs are contemplated like the modern days, management, social values, technical upgradation, etc. to meet the challenges of the industry. We are happy to have a collaborative efforts like this one with the GCCLT and will be having much more in the future too. Today's topic, as you can guess, carries a lot of significance in everybody's life in the present times throughout the world. Hope you realize the content and prime yourself for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful speech. Now I would like to have Mr. Arnab Jha, President of ILTA, to deliver the welcoming address.
Hello, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, Global Ambassador of Peace, a global peace icon and former Sheriff of Calcutta. Mr. Ratan Chaudhary, Coordinator, HRD Committee ILTA and its senior Life General. Mr. Shushantu Malik, Life General and General Secretary, ILTA. Mr. Dr. Sanjay Chakraborty, Officer in Charge, GCLT and Life General of ILTA. Members of GCLT, students, colleagues, and alumni of GCLT. I, on behalf of ILTA, welcome you all to attend the talk show titled Peace at a Premiere in association with Government College of Engineering and Technology. This is the first endeavor of this type and style. Peace, the most substantial subject in all sphere to this world, and its two sides, negative peace and unpositive peace together. Negative peace is the absence of personal violence, and positively the actions and structures of academics. Premium means higher than usual quality of values, actual meaning of premium does speak to about or beyond some basic or interesting value. We over here are fortunate to learn that peace and the opinion by Global University of Peace, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee. We are utterly grateful to him to spare his valuable time to be with us. With this, I once again return the word. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful speech. Now I would like to present Mr. Chatterjee with a bouquet of flowers. I would like to call upon stage Mrs. Sushmita Sarkar to come up on stage and present the bouquet. Thank you, everyone. Now we would like Mr. Sushant Mollik, General Secretary of ILTA, to say a few words.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving this opportunity to speak to this lovely audience. Honorable President of ILTA, Honorable Speaker, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, Honorable Principal, Government College of Engineering and Technology, our live member and HRD coordinator, Dr. Chaudhary, our beloved senior live members of ILTA, and the lovely students of this college and faculties. Good afternoon to all. This is an extremely useful program organized by ILTA HR Committee headed by Mr. Chaudhary and Government College of Engineering and Technology. In fact, since long, maybe more than a decade, we are on this job to organizing this type of visiting lectures in this college, and we organized many of such lectures, sometimes by Alumni Association, sometimes by IIT, sometimes jointly Alumni Association, IIT and DCLT, by inviting eminent personalities from the industry and from the academic institutes. Such events of talk and deliberations on any relevant topic, which could be the motivational force for career building of the students and also the students like us. Our HR committee started doing such program in collaboration with Calcutta Management Association, Leather and Leather Goods Industry, other academic and research institutes and corporates too. It helps also in creating a link between the industry and the institutes, which could be very helpful for the students in future. We are doing it effectively. In doing it effectively, we need feedback from all of you after this event. So please give your feedback to the principal of college or to the coordinator of HR committee, whether you want any change, any modification, or you have any advice on the topic. Everything we want to entertain and we want to change the event accordingly. Today we have an eminent person as an honorable speaker, Mr. Chatterjee, and who will be talking on a very useful subject for all of us of any age for building his career and his life. So Also, I got a lot of calls and SMS from our students, members, that they could not come here as they are not staying in Calcutta or they are busy today. So we are giving for them in our website and Facebook so that they can see live program with all recording. We are grateful to Mr. Chatterjee for giving his kind consent, and we are anxiously waiting to listen to him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malik, for this wonderful speech. Now we would like to hear a few words from our beloved principal, sir, Mr. Sanjay Chakraborty.
You will also be seated at your space instead.
Good afternoon. The eminent speaker of the day, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee, the Honorable President of ILTA, Honorable Secretary of ILTA, the Head HR Committee ILTA, Mr. Chaudhary, dignitaries of the dais, my beloved students. In fact, it is an extended session of our induction program. This induction program, which is the 3 weeks program for the first year students, they are not only the first year students, but all my dear colleagues and my faculty members, they are also here. In fact, the alumni of ILTA and so many others are there. I'm delighted to see all of you. So, this program, which is meant for the day today, it is not only the day in this month. Every month we like to have this sort of program in each and every month with some motivational lecture by some dignitaries for the sake of our students mostly, along with the alumni who are all there. So it is an event, a meaningful event by the speech of the eminent speaker who is the peace ambassador of our country, Mr. Utpal Chatterjee. Oh, we are all really very heartily waiting to listen to his speech. I am really delighted and I am grateful to Mr. Chatterjee for spending his time with us, with my college, for the sake of my students mostly. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your mesmerizing speech. Now, I would like to call Devoshmita to give us a brief introduction about our chief guest.
I'm so happy to see so many smiling and bright faces awaiting such a great future. Mr. President, Mr. Principal, Mr. Secretary, the one and only Ratan Chaudhary, the HRD coordinator, and most important components of this afternoon, which is gradually turning into the evening, the bright faces of ILTA, both boys and girls. You are the people who invigorate people like us. Only the other day I turned 75, and having seen the likes of the great J.R.D. Tata, uncle of Ratan Tata, the great Rusi Modi, arguably the greatest man in industrial relations in the world, well into their late age. With Rusi Modi, I remember spending virtually the last but one day before he left us all. I was like a son to him. It was such a great experience being with such wonderful, great Indians. They thought like Indians, they behaved like Indians, and they made India proud. J.R.D. Tata had got the Bharat Ratna You see Modi got everything but the Bharat Ratna. Meeting such great people and being a person who grew up in their presence virtually are just the right people to emulate. Now, I am very concerned, very involved in peace building, as they now say, all over. Whether you go to Malaysia, whether you go to Moscow, whether you go to Kiev, Ukraine, whether you go to Latin America, or whether you are in good old London, they will continuously be speaking on peace building. Peace is no building. Peace is what can keep us alive. Peace is what can keep us stable. Peace is what can give us sustenance. Peace is what brings certain quiet. Peace is when the economy prospers. Peace is when people don't go hungry. Peace is when people don't worry about the depleting water resources. Peace is a lot of things, but peace is not war. And war can never bring in peace. If there is a pause during the war, don't mistake it to be peace. The question is, I intended to start a little differently, but then let me carry on the way I've started and why peace is indispensable, completely and only indispensable. I don't know, among the boys and girls, how many of you have read good literature when you were back in school, or even after school during the interim time, before you came and decided to enroll your names here in this great institution. Did you do a little bit of reading or literature, be it English, be it Bengali, be it Hindi? Did you do some reading or creative writing? Be that as it may. Let me start by quoting to you just an excerpt from a huge, enormous sentence. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was a season of light, it was a season of darkness. Imagine what a bundle of contradictions this little excerpt was. This was written by the great Charles Dickens. And he started his novel, A Tale of Two Cities, London and Paris, with these words. And A Tale of Two Cities, remember, had the French Revolution as its backdrop. Now, why am I speaking about the French Revolution? The French Revolution was something that happened on the 14th of July, 1789. Because the French Revolution, people realized King Louis XIV and Marie Antoinette, his queen, were ruling, and they had no idea of the realities on the ground. The ground realities were not known to them. We in India, right now, in 2024, have arguably the largest and most vibrant democracy in the world. In 1780s, France had aristocracy running there. The lords and ladies, the rich and the famous were the ones who were running the country. But they're not doing justice to to the mass, and the masses comprise poor people, relatively poor people. In fact, it's now become a joke and cliche in literary circles. If somebody had once come and knocked on the Queen's door, he had the temerity to knock on the Queen's door. The Queen shouted from inside, "What is it?" She opened the door, and there was this man with his head bowed. He said, "Your Majesty, people are shouting outside." "Why?" "Because, Your Majesty, they say there is no bread, there is no water." "No bread? No bread? So what?" She slammed the door by saying, "Ask them to go and eat cake instead." There was just no feeling. So you see, there are a lot of people in Europe. Europe is like a large country, a country like India. India is, in fact, very strictly speaking, India, for those who are better adept at geography, would be able to answer, Europe, India is a little bigger than Europe. And if you were to look at the ancient India, do remember, India had no neighbors. Sri Lanka was part of India. Nepal was part of India. Burma or Myanmar was part of India. Bangladesh was part of India before 1947. Afghanistan was part of India. India was huge. In any case, whatever is left of India is almost as large, I personally feel, is larger than Europe. But in any case, in Europe, people were concerned. There were lots of creative people. We have heard of so many of them. From the Renaissance period, we've heard of people like Da Vinci from Italy, Michelangelo. We've heard of Raphael. You've come to England and you've heard of people like Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, and earlier William Shakespeare. I mean, the list goes on. Well, in 1780s, you had a 19-year-old William Wordsworth who paved the way for romantics like Keats and Shelley. People like him, the young musical composers, we had the Mozarts and the Beethovens around that time. With so many people, all of them moved to Paris to see how the Bastille would fall. And the falling of the Bastille would mean the success of the French Revolution. So, to cut a long story short, the Bastille fell on the 14th of July. And after that, there was such celebration. People felt justice had been delivered. But was it? Yes, the government was ousted. A new government, a kind of a makeshift government was formed. Not an elected government. The government of chosen people who had thought fit to lead were the ones who were put in place with responsibilities. But then, what never ceased to stop, never stopped, was the guillotine. You know what the guillotine is? In the audience, anybody? Among the youngsters?
I hope everybody knows what is guillotine.
I beg your pardon? Who's speaking?
Me. I hope everybody knows what is guillotine.
No, let me find out from my wonderful young friends. Do you know what the guillotine is?
Yes, sir.
If you can, I see your name. You just get up and identify yourself.
My name is Swadipal.
Right. What is the guillotine?
Punishment.
Guillotine is not punishment. It is the ultimate punishment, but it's not really. I'll tell you what a guillotine is. It's just a huge, I think the height must be nearly 50 feet, if not more, tall. A blade, huge blade, almost a gigantic axe, and by a particular lever, when it was pulled, the guillotine would fall on a person whose head would be below, and it would cut. The guillotine falls with a huge weight, and the head goes rolling like a ball. Hundreds and thousands of heads rolled. That marked the success of the French Revolution. That was violence. How could that be misconstrued as peace? But the problem was the celebrations that followed the French Revolution became muted too soon. People like William Wordsworth became depressed, very sad, because after that, even on suspicion, people pulled out people from houses, and everybody was guillotined. The guillotine went on, non-stop, day in and day out, even in the night. And that, after French Revolution, was called the Reign of Terror. I'm spending a lot of time deliberately on the French Revolution, primarily because what is prevailing indirectly in the world today would remind you of the Reign of Terror in various other forms all over the world. I'll prove it to you in a minute. When that happened, to cut a long story short, all people like Wordsworth returned home. Wordsworth went back to England, to the Lake District in England, which is now a great tourist attraction. And he went and settled down in his sister Dorothy's cottage. The cottage was a beautiful cottage. And if someday you go to England and you go to Lake District, well, that would be it would feel you almost arrived in heaven. No wonder Wordsworth loved nature so much, because nature never looks more beautiful than it does in places like Lake District. Now when he went there, Wordsworth, it took him some time to get out of the shock of what he had witnessed in Paris. So he sat down and he wrote a poem. If my memory serves right, the first few lines of the poem ran like this. The world, listen to me carefully, please. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. 'Tis a sordid doom. The world, and we are with the world all the time. We are only getting and spending, materialism. And we lay waste our powers. God has blessed us when He sent us to this world with He gifted us with plenty of knowledge, wisdom, or the ability to learn and be wise. He gifted us with so much, the power of observation. He did not just send us to eat and drink and be merry. He gave us a lot of gifts. The problem is we don't use those gifts. Which is why today, not far from where you are, is a Porivesh Bhavan, where learn all about environment. And today, one of the most major concerns of United Nations is environment. So we don't look into the nature that is ours. Nature is two-pronged. Nature meaning the nature that you see, the green that you see, and nature, not just the green, everything, the mountains, the seas, everything is nature. And the nature that is ours means our nature, man's nature. We don't see who's sad, who's happy, who's feeling terribly morose, who's feeling awful, and we do nothing about it. This is a fact. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no intention to come here and give you a very serious, high-grade topic, which is very possible for me. I can do it. I want to tell you something that you will understand. You all know that since childhood, all of us, even the very senior, established, esteemed faculty and the gentlemen who are sitting in front, they were also once children, like I was a child, once upon a time. And what did we love as children? Of course, we loved being loved by our parents, by our elders. True. But what did we love? We loved to listen, especially before we went to sleep, a good story. Even today, even in school, if you remember, besides the serious classes, if the teacher ever told you, now I'm going to tell you a story. Oh, there was something inside you that became very happy. Kalpo. Kimaja. Ashyata kalpo. You think of a story. Now let me tell you something that was not a story. It will sound like a story. In 269 BC, you do your own calculations, we had, at least according to me, the greatest emperor that India had, Ashoka the Great. You know the government of India symbol, the Ashok Chakra. Ashoka the Great, from the Chandragupta Maurya Empire. In 269, what happened? The Kalinga War. Where is Kalinga? Well, the coast of Orissa today. It was a war to settle who will take the coast, the coastal areas. It was a terrible war. It was one of the most horrific wars in the history of mankind. At one point of time, Ashoka was invincible. He was an undisputed leader of the entire India. And as I told you, there are no neighbors around India. There was just India, and after that there was China and the other Asian countries that you see today. Thailand, for instance, has been one country that was never invaded, ever, in its history. But Ashoka the Great, in the middle of the war, in the afternoon, suddenly his attention was diverted by one of his lieutenants. He said, "What's up?" He said, "Just look. Look." He pointed to the river. The river had turned its color into red, purple red. How could a river change its color? River had not changed its color at all. River was the same. The color changed because so many people died, so many soldiers died, and all the young widows, they came to mourn. They came and they had the husband's head in their lap, and their blood rolled into the river, and the river's color changed. Ashoka looked, he stared, and he couldn't believe it. He had been in wars before, he had seen bloodshed, he had seen the dead before, people dying before. But this was something that transformed him, changed him completely. Gentlemen, please, hello, one in yellow shirt, I'm talking to you. I love to hear law. If I've come to you to talk, if I'm giving you so much attention, why don't you give me some attention? You're talking to him, laughing away, oh this will end soon. There'll be another day. So why have I come all this distance? And you are talking away. Is this fair? I'm not going to complain. I'll handle it myself. If you don't feel good, you are free to go anywhere you want to. Go to Purivesh Bubble. Do something about the Purivesh. Now, the matter is very simple. When he saw the red, the color red, Ashoka was transformed. He took his large sword, huge sword, and just threw it away. That was the end of Ashoka being in a war ever. What did he do? I'll cut a long story short. Ashoka sent thousands of emissaries all across Asia to spread the word of Buddhism. What did Buddhism stand for? Peace. See, I'm coming to peace, and I'm taking other routes to come to peace, just to explain to you. Because Buddhism has no distinct for violence of any kind. Everything, if you read the Dalai Lama's writings, or if you read his speeches, you'll understand how much emphasis is given on peace and why not. Well, the whole Asia became Buddhist. Later on is another story that China, which is also all Buddhist, well, most of China, the communist China, became communist or Maoist. But then rest of Asia stayed Buddhist. Even Laos during difficult times, Cambodia during difficult times, Vietnam during difficult times. They are still all Buddhists. But the fact remains, peace, as is written here, is my language, is at a premium. It's very expensive now. It's very hard to get. Whatever is hard to get is very expensive. Expensive not in terms of rupiah, anna, paisa, not in terms of dollars, pounds, or the euros or euros. It is just not there. Do you know India is a very peaceful country? But do you know the rank of India in world peace? Any idea? Anybody? Do you know the rank of India? There are over 200 countries in the world. What is the rank of India? In the region of 124, which is much better than what it was 2, 3, at least 4 years back. India was then 130, beyond 130, now 124. It will improve, it will improve more. But the fact remains, even as I'm talking to you, there are at least 64 places in the world where there are conflicts. Present day world. The lady, when she was reading my resume, mentioned that I had interviewed Mikhail Gorbachev. You have all heard of him. He was one of the greatest men, at least that I have seen, and history would recognize. It was Napoleon Bonaparte who was the first person who changed the history of Europe, or paved the way for what you see, what you used to see in Europe, let's say last century, when Swami Vivekananda was there. Before he went and after he left Chicago. That was Europe that was paved by, thanks to Napoleon. The next man who changed the course of European history was, way back in 1991, a certain man whose name was Mikhail Gorbachev. He was the president of the USSR. USSR meant the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Republics in plural. Mind you, that's very important. Why is there a war today between Ukraine and Russia? You know, when it was USSR, it was Gorbachev. Around that time, the President of the United States was Ronald Reagan. The Prime Minister of Britain was Dame Margaret Thatcher. The Chancellor of Germany was Helmut Kohl. These people used to get together for their own meetings quite often. Now I went to Stockholm for the nuclear disarmament summit in 1988 in January, when the temperature outside was minus 35 degrees centigrade. All right? Around that time I worked very, very hard. I was much younger. I could do a lot more legwork. I could use my brain much more. I could skip lunches, skip dinners, and kept sending reports. The man who noticed it was Mr. Arbatov, who was a chief advisor to Mr. Gorbachev. And Mr. Arbatov and I became very friendly. For some reason, he took to me. I'd gone with our then Prime Minister. When we got close, almost on adda terms, I told Mr. Arbatov, I have but one request. Yes, you tell me, the way a Russian would speak English. You tell me. He said, I would love, I know it's very difficult. He doesn't meet Western journalists one-on-one. But I would be very happy to meet. I knew it was impossible. I was asking for the moon. I said I would love to meet Mr. Mikhail Gorbachev. Ah, you want to meet Mr. Gorbachev? I said, yes. He looked up. And then he looked up. Yes, I've seen you. I've seen you the way you work. Very good. I will tell you, where do you stay in India? I said Calcutta. Oh, you stay in Calcutta. Good. You know, when you go back, within 2 weeks, the Consul General in Calcutta is going to meet you. I will not say anything more. I had almost forgotten about it. And then I get a call. How did you know my number? From the Russian Consul General. Mr. Chatterjee. I said, yes, this is so and so. I'm the Russian Consul General. When would you be free today, lunchtime? Yes, anything in particular? Please come, let us have lunch, talk over lunch. And within 3 months, I was flying to Moscow. It was bitterly cold. And I met Mr. Gorbachev. Mr. Gorbachev, when I met him, he was so friendly, very nice, a no-nonsense man. There was a tall man. He was close to 7 feet, almost. Must be 6'11". He had a moustache, a large moustache, a barrel of a moustache. If I asked, I had gone prepared. If I asked Mr. Gorbachev a question, it was loaded. It was a loaded question. Mr. Gorbachev answered, and it took 8 minutes to answer each question, 8 to 9 minutes. I was taking down, notes, but before I could take down notes, it was a tall man. who answered the 8 minutes of Mr. Gorbachev's answer in 1.5 minutes. This happened twice. Then I stopped. I said, Mr. Gorbachev, please forgive me. I was as polite as possible. So please forgive me. I asked a question. You take 8 or 9 minutes to answer. And this gentleman answers it in 1.5 minutes. I don't know what he's editing. He edits the whole thing out. How can I possibly carry an interview, Mr. Gorbachev? What would it read like? My question and your answer in one sentence. A short sentence. Would it be fair? Mr. Gorbachev looked at me and I looked at him and he broke into a smile. You know what he did? This amazing personality walked one step towards me. He was on that sofa, I was on this sofa. He just came, put his arm around me, and he says, "You are young, you are impatient, but how do you know that?" He has not said the whole thing. Mr. Gorbachev, let's cut that out. When you meet Mr. Reagan, I've seen both of you walking alone together, just two of you. I've seen you and Mrs. Thatcher. I've seen you and Mr. Kohl. You speak in English. So why can't you speak in English to me? Don't worry. When you go out of this room after the interview, and after we share a little bit of something else, meaning some tea and snacks, well, you will get the entire transcript. And I got the entire transcript. You know what he did? The Berlin Wall fell because of his approval. The Iron Curtain fell. Russia was open. The Cold War with the United States ended. And not only that, all the plural, the republics became actual republics. Earlier, they were all under Soviet rule from Moscow. So Ukraine got its sovereignty, Estonia did, Georgia did, Latvia did. So many of these countries they did. But Putin, who in East Germany was an SS man, an ordinary constable who looked into personal lives and took negative action, became close to Yeltsin, who was Gorbachev's successor, and he climbed the steps very high very soon. And he decided he would change the Russian government and Russia by capturing all these republics that had gone away. That is why he waged a war on Ukraine. The war with Ukraine is on. Today you have got the Gaza war on, something that was started by the Hamas. You have wars going on everywhere. The situation in India is not very good. In Manipur, you have got the Chinese sending drones. There's Chinese intervention. Pakistan is a constant trouble. Myanmar is helping the Chinese. Myanmar is a terrorist outfit. Everywhere you have this. If you enter your Google, if you search my name, Utpal Chatterjee, journalist, you will find plenty. If you want to know something more about me, you will find plenty, including photographs. But if you go there in Google and search, you will have everything. Everything that I'm telling you. I don't read Google. But after 3 paragraphs, my head becomes a bundle of confusion. It's much better to do the homework in a different way. I do it early morning till very late in the night. Sometimes I go to sleep at 3 in the morning. I write. I'm writing a book. I wake up sometimes very early, at around 4:35. Because at that time, the world is totally quiet and peace, and it allows me to do plenty of work. Mental and cerebral work. Ladies and gentlemen, those who know me relatively well, my friend Pranab here for instance, they know I'm an incurable optimist. I see good in everything and in everybody. If I lose my cool over somebody, I keep it to myself generally. Rest assured, I'll be the first person to go and shake hands with that person and help him, no matter what the situation. Today is the age we must remember never to compromise with the truth. As a person, be a peaceful human being. Learn to love peace, honor peace by setting an example. Try to help those who are not as well off as you. Try to keep a pleasant disposition. Keep smiling. Before I came up, I was in the principal's room. I tell you, the six of us had a marvelous chat, as if we had known each other for donkey's years. That is how you should keep yourself. Be pleasant, be friendly. It's infectious, it spreads. Nobody will ever misunderstand you. Lookta bhalo, hashi mukhe, কথাবার্তা কি সুন্দর বলে। They'll say a lot of things. ये आदमी, ये इंसान सचमुच बड़ा प्यारा इंसान। अरे देखो, इसका चलना फिरना देखो, आखिर देखो तो, जो बोलता है, जो सुनता है, बड़ा हिफाजत से सुनता है और बोलता है। They will talk like that. बहुत इज्जतदार आदमी है, वही है इज्जतदार जो दूसरों को भी इज्जत करना जानता है। This is something all of you understand. আরেকজনকে স্নেহ করলে ও আরো চাইবে, আরেকজনকে ভালোবাসলে বাচ্চার কথা বলছি, তোমার কথা বলছি, বাচ্চাকে ও আরো হি লুক ফরওয়ার্ড, জানবে এ আমাকে ভালোবাসে, এর কাছে আমি সেফ। You see, try, set an example. Let your example rub off on others. If only our leaders all over the world, if 56 places are having conflicts, multiply that by 2. Those many countries are involved. So multiply that. I mean, think of the leaders of those countries. If they could also be a little friendly. Most of what is happening today and leading to frictions, mental, physical, is because of the fact that there is so much of hate being spread. Hate in speech, hate in declarations, hate in threats, hate everywhere. Let us cut that hate out. Let us try and bring others closer. That is what civilization was all about. When you read about the Indus Valley civilization, when you read about the Mesopotamian civilization, when you read about all the old civilizations, and the oldest civilization was discovered just the other day. In the 70s, the excavations were first started by the French archaeologists, and then they came back in the 90s. And the civilization is called Mehergarh. Look up your Google. Mehergarh, Mehergarh. It is so advanced. Can you believe how advanced it was? 13,000 years ago. People used to be buried after they were dead. There was no religion. The French archaeologists came to do a lot of deductions. The port was almost as modern as today's ports. Surface transport, magnificent. And do you know when the root canal treatment heat was discovered? 13,000 years ago, during the American civilization. People could do so much of good work. Continue to do their good work. So, let us be determined. In our own respective worlds, let us bring in peace. Let us bring in peace. When Obama became president, nobody gave him a chance and became the first black man to enter the White House. And he said, what? We can! And they did. They could. We can. So with me, can all of you repeat? We can. What is this? You didn't have lunch today? No lunch? No water? We can!
We can!
We can!
We can!
But of course we can. Thank you so much, everybody. Anybody any questions?
Yes,
Anybody any questions?
well,
Mr.
Mr. Chatterjee, just one question. Just one question. The war.
Take a microphone.
I have some
Hello.
Mr. Chatterjee, just one question. The war between Ukraine and the Soviets, don't you think that Russia, don't you think that the NATO is playing a very filthy role in it? NATO is playing a very filthy role behind the war. I mean, think of a situation today, if NATO comes into Pakistan, India would like it.
I'll begin from the end. I don't foresee NATO wasting its time, energy and its funds by coming to India, number one. Number two, NATO, I'll tell you the question that you asked me today. I wish right now you are in the United States, because nobody hates NATO as much as Donald Trump does. Trump would have taken you in his team and would have paid you a huge salary. I can assure you that. But yes, NATO is wasting a lot of time on this defense armaments, which are costing all these countries a huge amount. It's taking up plenty from the United States and from other countries. It's not taking anything from China. India is in no way involved. But the coffers of France, of so many other countries in Europe, well, they've gone down a great deal because they have been feeding NATO with so many arms. Yes. Working? Not working. That is working. Not working.
Yeah.
Yes, it is working. All right. Yes. It is okay.
Mr. Chatterjee, my name is Tarok Saha. Actually, the world is in
totally turmoil. Everywhere we are seeking peace, but peace is nowhere. I want to ask you one thing that is the world is divided over the religion. What will be the role of religion in the forthcoming era of the world? What I am seeing that the world is divided over the religion, and every fight is being fought over this religion. You see the fight of Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, and other so many wars. The war is between, I think, look at Bangladesh or Pakistan. This one community people, one religious community people are thriving and trying to rule over the other world. Is this situation is going to worse in future?
I'm not blessed with the qualities and features and the virtues of a soothsayer or a person who can predict what will happen in the future. I understand perfectly, sir, why you asked, as in Shakespeare, one gentleman addresses another as sir. So, on that basis, if you try and read Mr. Guterres, the present United Nations Secretary General, his entire foreword that he prepared when the new session of United Nations started for the current year, you will see he has expressed great concern over, he doesn't talk of religion, he refers to them as communities. For instance, in Europe, it's become a matter of great concern. And starting with the French, going to the British Parliament is finding it very hard. The new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer of the Labour, is finding it very difficult to handle the situation there, especially because quite a few people from the community you just mentioned have entered the British Parliament, the House of Commons. And this, because they come from places which are bordering London, like let's say South, to just give you an example. I mean, out there you will find little difference between Indians and, let's say, Pakistanis. You know, they behave like very great friends. But then the fact remains, when it comes to the actual thing, a real skirmish, or a border skirmish, or a fight in the two countries, they don't hold anything back. It becomes, you know, like a Mahalla versus Mahalla fight. Now, but that has now spread into something different. That community has now gone against the Brits. They've targeted. There have been a few British victims. So the Parliament is hell-bent and trying to change laws on a drastic basis. But of course, the United Nations has to address the problem. More importantly, the Security Council has to address the problem.
But this
In the Security Council, I allow it. The Security Council, China plays little or no role when it comes to these peacekeeping methods. Very convenient. But in China, you will find you have the Uyghur Muslims, and they have got almost an entire town, you know, where they are all imprisoned completely in China. And China virtually keeps Pakistan in perennial debt. Just see the kind of game they're playing. And this goes on. But you will find, very strangely, I'm very fortunate, we are all very fortunate that we have an excellent foreign minister. And they will ensure that the entire Middle East, virtually the entire Middle East, are on friendly terms with our country presently. I just hope the manner and method in which this foreign minister of ours, you see, has been running the whole show from his side, from his office, would be emulated by other foreign ministers too. The sooner they do it, the better.
One more thing I want to say, that China is creating a lot of troubles in this region, South Asia regions. They are instigating the Pakistan, and the Balochistan is now revolting in Pakistan. Balochistan has got the enormous natural resources, but this China is now Pakistan is putting the country into the debt trap, and they are using this this thing. They are building the road alongside with the Balochistan area, and Balochistan is taking a massive role, and the people they are fighting against this Pakistanis, and they are also raised a bogey of revolution against China also. And given the condition in the Bangladesh, they are actually, the Bangladeshi people are going on.
May I answer, sir, please? If you can answer, make your question a little brief, then my answer will also be brief.
What I am taking that the role of the Chinese people, they are instigating that they are making the entire South Asian area in the boiling point. And this creating a problem for the India, the subcontinent of India also. The people of Hindus are not in peace. And after the turmoil and
My dear sir, may I answer in no uncertain terms? While asking the question, you answered the question. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Would you please identify your name? Identify yourself. Let her go.
I'm Utpal Chatterjee. My question is, sir, how can an organization like the United Nations be entrusted with establishing world peace when some of the big players in war, arguably, like America, Russia, with especially companies which fund war, play such big roles in such an organization?
Give me one more, please. I'm very, very thirsty.
So my question is, how can organizations like the United Nations be entrusted with establishing world peace when some of the big players in the organization include America and Russia, which are known to be, big war, they house big war companies which profit off of war, of global war, and they are, they are veto countries in the United Nations. So how can we trust them with ensuring world peace?
You're asking a question. You're asking the question questioning the credibility of the United Nations. And you're asking a person who is a global peace ambassador, and there are 4 such global peace ambassadors all over the world. I'm the only one from Asia. Indirectly, you're asking me to comment on the United Nations, of which I am directly related to the United Nations at this point in time. If you want me to be very truthful, Let me try and tell you. Before the United Nations, what was there? You had the League of Nations. Think of the Second World War, which was fought between 1939 and 1945. The League of Nations could do nothing when the war was fought, before and after. So it was written off, and then was born the United Nations when they realized the mere absence of war will not ensure peace. That's why today you have the Food and Agriculture Organization, you've got the World Health Organization, you've got the UNICEF, you've got the UNESCO, you've got so many other things. But the fact remains, I'll tell you of only one incident. Sir, 1 minute. I'll tell you of only one incident. In Potsdam, which is in the erstwhile East Germany, when the war ended, the three great men of the Second World War, which had taken nearly 7 million lives all over the world. It was the bloodiest, the most horrible, the most painful war. The three people, Sir Winston Churchill, Roosevelt and Stalin, all three had promised before the world press at Potsdam that after we leave this place today, that was just after the World War had ended, maybe 2-3 days after the World War had ended. Hitler had died. Only very close. Maybe a 10-minute drive. Hitler's body lies below that place. There are cars parked there now, where Hitler's body lies. Well, he says, we promise you, after this, forget a war, there would not even be a conflict, not even be a skirmish. They had spoken too soon, too early. Within 2 years of this statement came the Korean War, and Korea was divided into North Korea and Korea. And then started so many other wars, all of them unnecessary. If you think of the Gulf War, when George Bush Sr. was the president, even after the United Nations had sent so many people to find out whether there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, they found there were none. They searched, combed the areas with troops, with other people, they found none. And yet, George Bush decided, first time, we people who had access to live television, and that was how color television came to India, we saw the Americans attack the Gulf. And then later, of course, you know how Saddam's statue was pulled down and he was hanged. All this was unnecessary, if you ask me. No battle can be justified. No violence can be justified. No bloodshed can be justified. The other day, a wonderful, talented, bright girl who was doing her thesis for a postgraduate in medicine, who specialized in cardiac diseases. You know what happened to her in Archikor? And today, do you see what's happening in Calcutta? Don't be surprised if after 1.5 hours you find doctors forming an entire long line route which will come all the way till the main road here. That is understandable. This is what is happening, and you do need to do something. And the government, I'm afraid, for once, for whatever time, I was watching the proceedings, well, in the assembly today, and I was very disappointed, let me tell you, what was happening in the assembly. And it was then the car came, and I was breezing my way to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom.
I'm just asking them. By the way, I could have given you a much longer speech, a speech more on the lines of the United Nations Secretary General. I could have spoken another official language which would have sounded like the Constitution. I spoke in my own way. I laced it with a few examples. I said it like stories. I hope it was all right. Thank you very much. And if any of you are upset, I forgive you. Please forgive me. I could have done, well, probably better. Who knows? If the authorities sitting here, the Bana Sahibs, want me to come again to give you another motivational talk, I certainly shall. That's a promise. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir, for your to enlighten us with your speech. Now we would like to felicitate you with memento and a shawl. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Sushanta Bollik and Dr. Chandra Chakraborty to do the honors.
By the way, all of you, would you give this wonderful gentleman, he used all his persuasive powers to get me here today.
Yes.
He needs a wonderful hand.
Yes.
So thanks to him, the principal, I met all of you, and I met those that I wanted to meet most, these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful students. Each and every one of you, thank you for lending me your ears so patiently. Thank you.
This is not the last time, this is the beginning of your work in our college.
Thank you. We think, sir, we think that we will be with us every now and then. Every now and then we want any among us. This is last but not the least, you are looking like a hero.
Oh my God, please. I'm a very proud.
Thank you, everyone. Now we would like to invite Mr. Abhijit Datta, alumni of our college, senior member of ILTA, to conclude the program with a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, it's about early evening now. Well, I don't know how to thank Mr. Chatterjee. In fact, I'm lost with words listening to his speech, his motivational speech. It's absolutely wonderful, and I feel pity for those who have missed it. However, I have got the whole speech recorded, video recorded with me, which I will upload in my YouTube channel, so you have the access to go through it or to watch it. Well, I would like to thank Mr. Utpal Chatterjee at the beginning, because he was a mastermind to invite Mr. Chatterjee. Thanks to Dr. Sanjay Chakraborty for lending these premises for the event.
No, it is the event for my students.
Absolutely, absolutely. But how many principals will you think of it? And then I must thank Mr. Honorable Sheriff, President of ILTA, and Sushant Malik, the Secretary of ILTA. They have done a wonderful job. And I must mention the names of the wonderful girls today who have done a great job. I'm very happy with them. Mahila Irfan, Devastika Rita. Prabhupada Sarkar. Tamogna Mondal. Anisha Rana, Nisha Vaidya, Anisha Nandi, Anjishta Sarkar, and all these young girls, beautiful girls, were headed by Mrs. Susmita Sarkar. Please. And before I end, I should not forget to mention that today, this day, Mr. Chatterjee was invited by the government of India to deliver a speech on the same subject, but he had promised earlier to be in here, so he had cancelled that. Give a big, big hand to Mr.
and Mr. Utpal Chatterjee to give them a big round of applause.